Wow, I'm so excited to say this. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have some very exciting news that is not really related to my financial journey, but it is related to my mom's financial journey. And just for background, almost a year ago I posted a video about how my parents paid off $30,000 of debt. I made this video in the early stages of starting my YouTube channel, and I basically went over all of their debts and the debts that they had paid off in the past few months since I helped them start budgeting. And honestly, the results of that is a true testament of how powerful budgeting can be, or just knowing where your money is going in general. Because prior to that, my parents had a bunch of credit cards that were accumulating interest, and they were basically making minimum payments, and it was really hard to get that paid off when you have all this interest working against you. So once I was more aware of how their finances looked, because of course I'm nosy and I'm their daughter and I want what's best for them, I designed a loan payoff program for them so that they can actually pay off these debts faster without generating that much interest. So I did take kind of a debt snowball / debt avalanche approach. If I knew that there was enough money in the bank for them to pay off a larger balanced loan with a higher interest rate, obviously I decided to help them pay that off first. Eventually, they paid off all of their debt, which was around $30,000. It really goes to show you how much disposable income that my parents could have had these past few years if they had not been carrying all this debt and making all these payments. With that said, it freed up a lot of income to put towards other things. Now, even though they did pay off that amount of money, they were still not quite debt-free. At that point, my parents still had my mom's car lease and the mortgage to pay off. So afterwards, we decided to focus on the car lease. So I helped my mom design her budget so that any extra money that she had in a certain month, it would be thrown into a savings account where it would accumulate and generate a little bit of interest until we had enough money to fully pay off the car and buy out her leased vehicle. Even though she would prefer to have a brand new car, it made a lot more sense for her to just pay it off, own it, and then eventually if she wants to get a new car, she can sell it. But we also knew that it would be really hard to find a new or used car with the same features that her current car has at the same price. So the plan was always to buy out that car. Now, in order to do this, we decided to make minimum payments on that car lease every month up until March of 2021. And that's when the savings account that had the car savings fund in it actually reached the amount that was required for her to pay off the car in full. This amount ended up being $21,042.21. Yeah, it was a lot. But to put things in context, this car is a 2019 car, and the residual value at the end of the lease, which would be in February 2022, would be $16,000. Yes, this car is going to depreciate, but my mom likes it, and it made sense for her to just buy it out and keep it. Now, I do believe that buying out a leased car will save you money in the long run. You don't have to wait until the lease ends. So sometime in late March, I informed my mom that she had enough money to pay off the car in full, and she wrote, by far, the biggest check she's ever written in her life. And to be honest, $20,000 is more than the down payment my parents put down on our house. It's kind of sad to see that, but also understandable given the situation and how most Americans probably operate, you know, putting a very low down payment and getting this gigantic 30-year mortgage with a high interest rate. So they were normal. I made sure that my mom had enough money to pay that car in cash. She wrote up the check, she signed it, she downloaded the odometer statement because of course Nissan makes things a little difficult. They don't even have anything in their documents. You have to Google the odometer statement and hope you find the right document. By the way, if you guys are planning on paying off a Nissan car lease, I did make a video about my own experience paying off a car lease, and it was less than perfect. And at this point, before even sending the check in the mail, I definitely asked my mom to call Nissan just to make sure that she had to send the check over the mail and not just pay it off online, which is what I found would have probably been easier in my situation. And then she called them and they said, no, it's not possible for you to buy out a lease online. You can't pay it off in the portal. And if you've seen my video on this, the last $8 and I believe 8 cents that I had to pay, because for some reason their payoff quote went up from one day to another, I paid it off online. From my experience, the only thing that really had to be submitted by mail was the signed odometer statement. But here, the representative that my mom spoke to at Nissan said that you could not possibly pay off the rest of the car online, even though I clearly paid off the last remaining $8 of my car online, but whatever, I let it go. So my mom ended up bringing the check to the post office, and I specifically asked her to buy the tracking that required a signature. She specifically asked the post office to do that. By the time she came home, she showed me the receipt just to make sure. They did not require the signature for some reason, and I think that they charged her for it. I don't know what happened there, but it was kind of annoying, and I was a little stressed out because now there was no proof that she would have sent that check by the payoff quote deadline. So I was just having little flashbacks of my experience because I did require a signature and they almost didn't believe me. So after a few days of the check not being cashed into that account, I was getting a little nervous that maybe they never got it, or maybe they did get it and I don't know, maybe it got lost, because we had no way of seeing that it arrived and it was signed by someone. The only thing that you see on these types of packages or letters is the city where it gets sent. It doesn't even tell you the exact address. So yeah, unless you call, maybe you can get that information, but it's always a really good idea to have someone sign that. However, maybe 2 days go past after that, and finally I see that the account had been credited $21,042.21, and it was in the process of being closed. Her account was closed very quickly. There was no remaining balance that made no sense afterwards, so she was able to smoothly close it. Basically, that was it. She didn't have to continue making any of her monthly payments for her lease, and at this point we just had to wait until the title arrived in the mail 20 business days after paying it off. And the title did arrive in the mail, so I'm very happy with that. The only issue now is for my mom to go to the DMV and just make sure that the paperwork is straightened out, which is a whole nother story, so I'm gonna refer my mom to my video that I made about that. Entonces, felicitaciones a mi mamá porque ya es dueña de su propio carro y no tiene que hacer ni un pago más a Nissan. So I'm really happy for her, and I am so excited for the next steps, which are to save up an emergency fund. Check, because this happened in March and we are now in May. Now the emergency fund is mostly like a 3-month emergency fund rather than a 6-month one, because we want to get a jump start on something bigger. And since I'm living with my parents, there's a bit less risk, because obviously if something happens, I could probably cover it. Now we have disposable income, which is the goal, even though I prefer to put my cash towards my student loans until I pay them off. But you know, my minimum payment is not $4,000 a month, thank God. So after saving up that 3-month emergency fund, which honestly did not take long, I made sure that whatever she has been contributing to her 403b, which she never stopped contributing to this entire time, so she's been, you know, building her wealth in that manner. I didn't have her do anything very strictly. I kind of just designed a plan for her lifestyle. We just needed to verify that what she was contributing would be taking advantage of all the benefits that her employer gave her, which she was. So anything beyond the amount that she was already contributing would have just been extra. And by the way, it's not a Roth 403b. I would really like to see her employer offer a Roth 403b, but I don't know if that's possible. I guess they have to renegotiate that in her contract or in the contract of every other person who works there. I think it would be really beneficial if that would happen. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Since she was already contributing that amount, which ended up being 3.5% of her earned income, I immediately started researching Roth IRAs, because I'm not gonna have my mom put any extra money into this 403b that is tax advantaged into an account where the money will grow, but then she'll have to pay taxes on what she put in and the growth when she does take it out, which to me makes no sense. So Roth IRA is what I looked up for her. So she ended up opening an account with Charles Schwab, and so far, great experience. I think it's been good, and obviously if you have a Roth IRA, don't just think that that's where you stop. You don't just make a Roth IRA and throw money at it. That's not how it works. You have to pick a fund to invest it in. Otherwise, it's basically just a savings account that probably doesn't even give you interest. So keep that in mind if you have a Roth IRA, just invest your money. So I researched some index funds that she could invest in, and that's what she ended up doing. Obviously, I'm learning a lot about this too, because I'm not currently actively investing other than the amount that I already have in my 401k and, you know, the Bitcoin and Dogecoin I bought. Besides that, I'm not really doing that. I'm focusing on debt. But in the meantime, I can always learn about investing and learn about the stock market and how to manage a retirement account. That's also important, and I'm really happy that I can help my mom do that. Although the amount that we're putting in is not the max contribution allowable for her age, what we are contributing is the rest of the amount that would make the total amount invested into retirement 15%. So 15% minus 3.5 would be 11.5%, and so we are investing 11.5% of her earned income into the Roth IRA. Why are we doing this, you may ask? Well, ideally, I would love it if she could max out her contributions, but my mom is so intent on paying off the house, and you know what? I agree with her. I would love it if my parents could stop having a mortgage. That would be such a vibe. I would love it if they didn't have to make these monthly payments. Obviously, they'll still have property taxes to worry about, but it'll be significantly less than a mortgage on top of that. So the plan right now is to send any disposable income that my mom has now after building up her emergency fund, after contributing 15% towards retirement in a given month. This is not going to be an easy task, but it's definitely a lot easier to do it now that she is essentially consumer debt free and we have a big goal in mind. So for now, obviously, both my parents are contributing to the house payment, but any extra that they have will be sent towards the house. If it were just them paying it off, it would take about 6 to 8 years to pay off the house. But we'll see if anything changes. Anyway, that's where my parents are at. I know some of you had asked about an update on their financial journey, and I hope you're as happy with it as I am. A year ago, my parents would probably not have believed me if I had said that their debt would be essentially wiped out except for the house at this point. So I'm really proud of them, and I hope it made them see what is possible if you just take control of your money and you start budgeting it and telling it where to go. Tell your money where to go. Please. If you guys help your parents with their finances, let me know about your experiences below. I would love to hear that, honestly. I really would. And then, of course, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more related content.